Hey guys, welcome back. Today is going to be kind of an update video, and I don't really like to make these because they always feel cheap, but they do serve a purpose, and now is as appropriate a time as any. Got a bit of a rain last night, pretty good rain actually for this time of year especially, a little early, that's nice. All sorts of stuff has been going on. August has not been very cooperative, and I thought I would let you guys know what's been going on and kind of what the plan is for uploads coming out of August and going into September. And since video uploads and the channel here is based off of what I'm doing around the farm, we'll just kind of talk about what the farm has been doing and what the plan is coming up. So all sorts of cool stuff to discuss and show. If you can be patient with me here for a few minutes, we'll try and get over everything and try not to be too verbose about it. We'll see how that goes. So we'll start out with the 875 here, I guess. This thing kind of ties into a lot of stuff. So what we're trying to do is plant. We're trying to plant the winter pasture early so that the army worms can't hurt it. The past couple years when we get planted, as soon as the rye and stuff comes up, the army worms come out and they eat it off, and then we have to go replant. So we're trying to get ahead of that and plant a little early. And it seems like the more we try to get stuff done, the more everything wants to break and be uncooperative. And this thing has been uncooperative. The most recent issue with it is that it won't start. And we're going to see if it will start. I just replaced the starter solenoid. And I did all of the appropriate testing and stuff to make sure that that was the actual problem. I mean, it should be the actual problem. We're going to find out here because this thing's been sitting here for 2 weeks now, and I was going to move it a week ago, but it wouldn't fire up. So maybe we'll get lucky and it'll go ahead and run for us, because getting this thing out from in front of the shop would be lovely. I've got all kinds of projects that need to go in there so I can get them done. I mean, we're out of gear and all that. Don't worry about it. Well, would you look at that? That's all she needed. We'll let that warm up for a second, get our steering online, and then we'll move this out of the way. Well, right here in front of that is as good a place as any, and this thing is now ready to go out to the field when it dries up, after we get the air conditioning to work again. The air conditioning's been a recurring issue on this tractor, and the reason why is because it's just old, and even though we've replaced all the lines, they're flare connections, and flare connections, they just don't work very well. They kind of suck. So I've got some stuff on the way that's going to let us, in theory, fix up the AC on this, and maybe I'll get a real video out of it. Who knows? A couple other things I've done to this. I put lights on it, so we have all 4 forward lights, and we have 2 rear lights. So if we needed to go out and farm at night with either with no AC or really bad AC, you know, we could do that. And originally we were thinking that we could get the AC to work good enough that in combination with night farming, we could get some stuff done with it. But this is the better tractor of the two. You know, we got the 800 out in the field right now, hooked onto the spring tooth, actually. And the 800 does fine. You know, there's not like a lot wrong with it or anything. It's just the 875 has more power. It's got better tires, honestly. And it's just the better tractor at the end of the day. So we'd like to get this thing doing a lot of the heavy work. But that's just not how it wants to work. So we'll roll with it. It's really hard to plant much of anything, let alone winter pasture, if you don't have a drill. And technically, we do have a drill. It's a John Deere 8350, and we used to have 2 of those running in tandem. But we don't anymore because the back drill is parts only. And we're not really a huge fan of John Deere in general. That drill has done okay. We have it because it was cheap. That's what we could afford at the time. But it's really been difficult to run with it the past few years. So rather than using it again, we bought a drill, and the rest of it's over there behind the U90. This is a Great Plains full press 30-foot 3-section folding drill. We got this at the same place we got the chisel, which if we look over here, we have started putting the chisel back together, and we have points for it, plow bolts for the points. We got to go get some more regular bolts to finish assembling it, but we got started. We even got it welded up and stuff. But back to the drill here. This is double disc opener. I think this is, I want to say this is 7.5 inch spacing, but I don't exactly remember. This is a pretty nice drill for the age. I believe this is a 1984. It's kind of difficult to tell going to the Great Plains website, but yeah, the boxes are on here, and most of the press wheel gangs, and then the center section, the frame, the hitch, all that's over there behind the U90. And we had the skid steer on the back of that trailer too yesterday. Ran down there and got it all taken apart and loaded up. That was an all-day affair. Got back here at about 11 o'clock, and because it had rained, we even had to unload the skid steer on the hill over here and shove the truck up the hill. It's kind of weird. That truck doesn't get very good traction when you have only one drive axle with real drive tires on it. But yeah, we're going to get this put together. We just need to replace a few of the bolts. Once we figured out how this came apart, it actually didn't come apart too bad. It's just nice and heavy. They didn't really cheap out on material with this, and that's good. And we got a good deal on this too, which I think is the biggest reason we bought it. And to set it, oh, it's so much easier than the John Deere. All you have to do is move this handle wherever you want it, and I'll have to find the right manual because I'll need to know how to set this according to the you know what I mean. I'll have to set it for rate and everything according to the chart and how they have these numbers laid out. But we'll figure that out, no problem. And then we'll have a good drill, and we can go plant. Now, it's also hard to plant when you don't have anything to plant. Now, we have 200 bushel of rye from 2024 because, well, we didn't cut anything 2025 here. So what we have also done in order to supplement that rye is we bought some triticale, and it is lovingly stacked inside of the Altoona cheese wagon, which is what we're calling the bus here. I will paint over that Midway USD one of these days, and it'll just be the Altoona cheese wagon. Some people around here aren't very fond of that name, but I think it fits really good. And this makes an excellent storage vessel for the seed, and we'll just run this down to the field when it's time to plant and dump everything in the drill and go on. And when we get done planting the triticale, we will turn around and start planting rye. Come over here for a second. There's the rest of the drill. Main hitch, drawbar, whatever you want to call it. There were several broken pins and bolts on this. The pin that retains this back in the frame there was broken, and that was kind of fun to get out, especially because it started to rain on us as we were trying to get this loaded up yesterday. And thankfully that storm was small and it moved quickly. We managed to get everything loaded up and get home all right, but it was at night and we were trying to beat the rain because it was supposed to rain later, and you know, obviously it did. It rained pretty good actually. So I want to talk about the U90 here because I've been wanting to do an update video on it, and I have never really gotten around to it. So yesterday was the maiden voyage for this since we got it back here and cleaned up and everything, and it ran great. Dad said other than the lack of suspension, because it's all spring, there's no airbags on this, so every little bump beats you to death. He said other than that, it ran great. He shifted good, steered fine, everything was fine. Plenty of power, all that. So some of the stuff I've done to it, I mean, we painted over the Paulson logo so that people don't think this is still their asphalt truck. It's not, it's ours now. We put a couple tires on it, and this wasn't this past month, this was a while ago. We put this tire on, and we put that tire on. Now that tire on the inside here, it actually exploded, the old one. So we drove this into the truck repair. It needed to be there anyway because we had them put a gooseneck hitch on here, and that obviously worked wonderfully. That tire exploded, so after they got done putting that on, we went in over a weekend. We had one of the guys in there set us aside a good used tire, and Dad and I put it on. Okay, no problem. Stuff come apart about like you could expect. But this tire here on the outside, see, as we backed the truck in to do that one, this one was about to pop. And so we got that one done, and then we started on this one. And let me tell you something, I don't know what it was about this wheel, but it did not want to cooperate. Now, obviously, we finally got it on. But Dad and I both, it whipped us one day, and then it took us the entirety of another day to get it on. and it was a struggle session. Okay, now, no, neither one of us are regular tire guys, but we know how to put tires on. We know how to do all that, and I've done truck tires before. This was just a nightmare, but we got her done. I put the fenders back on. I fixed them. And you might say, why'd you put bolts in instead of welding it? Well, there's two reasons. Number one, I can't weld worth a damn, which I should learn how to weld, yes. But the bigger reason was this stuff is pretty thin, and it doesn't look like it, but it's thin enough that it's really hard to weld, especially with our welder, because it's not made for welding thin stuff, really. Just didn't work out, but it seemed to hold together okay. I was actually going to look under here and see. Well, no, I don't see any new shiny spots on there, so it must not have hit the tops of these tires too bad. I had put some spacers in, some square tubing spacers, before we took off, just to make sure that those fenders weren't hitting the tires. We didn't really want that to happen. Now, it made it home without any of this stuff in there, but that doesn't mean I wanted to run it that way forever. What else did I do to this? There was something else. Oh, yeah, I greased it. It took grease fine. Both the axles checked out good. That was awesome. Haven't changed oil in it yet. I need to. We got the cab not completely done, but done enough we can run it. And rubber mat in here on the back. Dash is back in. Most of the panels are back in. The AC's not. There's still a giant hole over there. But everything works on it. We had a malfunction with this. We were supposed to go get the drill a week ago, and the morning we were going to leave, this thing wouldn't build air, which was weird because when I was prepping it the day before, it built air, no problem, no air leaks. And long story short on that, it was the trailer brake lever here that activates your actual trailer brakes, not your trailer parking brake. Your actual trailer brakes. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but that's what was leaking. So because we're not going to put a fifth wheel trailer on the back of this anytime soon, and we're not going to put anything with air brakes on the back of this anytime soon, I went ahead and capped those lines off. I'll have to get a valve at some point. We'll want that back on there, but right now we don't need to worry about it. And I had replaced the parking brake valve just because I thought that was the actual issue. And it wasn't. But it didn't hurt this to have a new valve on there because this has a spring-loaded retaining pin, which is much better than a roll pin. And that old style had a roll pin, and I didn't like taking that out, and it was kind of getting stiff. This one is a lot nicer. And now that we've got all that fixed, guess what? It holds air overnight. Can you believe it? So yeah, the U90 did pretty good, and it's been field tested, so we'll just continue to run it. If anything breaks, we'll go ahead and fix it, of course. We'll finish the cab out later, and we'll get HVAC in it at some point, put the door panels back on. But the maiden voyage was a success. It no longer turns the dash on when you slam the door, which is nice. I put an ignition switch in it, too. That's why there was a giant washer around the key. It's very, very special, but there's a lot of stuff on this truck that's very, very special. And yes, in case I didn't say or imply, the headlights do work. All the turn signals and stuff worked. Dad said the lights were okay, not great. So we'll probably upgrade those at some point. But thankfully, they do work pretty good. I made sure they did before we took off, just in case. So, yeah. U90's running pretty good, but that equipment malfunction, that were several days of calling around and checking because I thought it was an expensive part that broke and was leaking air at first, and then I did a little more screwing with it and thankfully found out it was just a few caps is all I needed. So that was nice. So as the truck was sitting in this very spot about a week ago, today is the 25th of August, if anyone was curious, I was driving this pickup around in town, and it spit out number 7 spark plug again. And I say again because in case you missed it, I made a short video about this thing ejecting number 7 spark plug. Oh, that was a few months ago. And I went ahead and threw a plug in, and I thought I was fine. And sure enough, I wasn't. And it could have let go in a lot worse of places. And so it's actually kind of fortunate that that truck didn't build air and that we didn't go when we had planned, because this thing would have quit on the way down. guaranteed, or probably on the way back, who knows. But long story short on this, I got one of the Calvan. It was the Napa version because they could get it here faster, but I got the Calvan 38900 rethreading kit and put a thread insert in, plenty of Loctite, let her sit overnight, and drove it all day yesterday, pulling that stuff back especially. And no, it doesn't go fast because it's winded, but it didn't spit the plug out again, and I'm going to say that's a job well done. So, a lot of the stuff I've talked about in this video so far has sounded a lot worse than it is. And it seemed pretty bad, especially about a week ago, because nothing was wanting to cooperate. And there were all sorts of other little things that happened in between the big stuff I've talked about here. And it just all happens at once, and then getting parts ordered and trying to find stuff and then getting it all on at the last minute so that we can maintain some sort of a schedule is really challenging, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. To make matters worse, though, we keep buying stuff. And Dad's been on the Facebook Marketplace something fierce recently, and this is one of 2 Facebook Marketplace purchases we've made. This is the one we've got back here. Now, there's another one, and it requires this to go get. So, yeah, we bought this, and then because we bought this, there was another thing that Dad found, and he was like, hey, let's go look at that and see if it's worth buying. And we went and looked at it and decided it was worth buying, and we bought it. And so now we need this to bring it back. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the second thing is because, well, that would be spoiling something I want to make exciting. But suffice it to say, when we get it back here, it's going to be something, and you are going to have, well, you're going to have some kind of a reaction, I guarantee it. But about this truck, and I'll do a separate walk around of this. I might go ahead and do that when I'm done filming this video. Gosh, it's getting a little bright outside. Mr. Sun may come out yet today. This is a 79 Ford L9000. Now, the U90 over there, that is a 1990 Ford L9000. So both of these have Cummins engines, 855 cubic inch. I do not believe this is well, I know this isn't an N14. It's too old for that. I think it's an NTC. I took a picture of the tag. I'll put a correction on screen if I'm wrong. I think it's an NTC 350. And that over there is a 365 Cummins. But they're both, and I know this is going to irritate people when I say this, they're both essentially the same engine. There are differences, of course, especially because of the age and all that, but they're essentially the same motor. That's going to make people so stinking mad. I don't know why I get myself in trouble like this, but anyway, this truck, it drove home, of course. You know, we didn't have to haul it home, but the tires, they don't look bad on the outside, but you go look at the backside, they're dry rotted to beat all hell. They have Dayton wheels on them, which is unacceptable. I'm going to want to get rid of those as quickly as possible. I don't want this. I had to do a little research so that I knew what these were called, but I can tell you right now I don't want to screw with these. I want pilot hub wheels, bud wheels, whatever you want to call them. So we'll have to change all that, which means we'll have to change the hub and the brake drum and all that stuff. Nice heavy spring suspension, no airbags because, well, it's a grain truck, holds about 400 bushel in case you were curious. Driving it home, Dad said there's no brakes. It doesn't like to shift into 5th gear. There's an air leak when you put it in high range. The owner said the clutch needed adjustment, which, okay, that's probably why I didn't want to shift very well. The parking brake works, but the regular brakes do not work, which is bad. We'll need to fix that. Otherwise, it sounds great, and it should. I'm not gonna start it. I'll start it in the walk-around video. You know, if the batteries aren't dead, they shouldn't be. But it's got nice big fuel tanks on it, which I like. I like a big fuel tank. I don't have to fuel this thing all the time. Granted, carling in there is a little awkward, and we're going to have to relocate the exhaust because it's in such a position that when you come up here, even if you're careful, you brush up against that, and then you do that to your arm, and that's worse than it looks. I put some lavender on it. That stuff works wonders. But yeah, This is something that we kind of need, actually. We didn't just buy it so we could go buy other stuff and haul it home with this. We do actually need a grain truck of some variety. We need to be able to haul grain, even though we plant it for ourselves. For the most part, sometimes we get a little adventurous and we plant something else that we don't intend to keep the seed back. And we needed the ability to get that seed to the co-op for sale. And that is why we picked up on this. Price was right, and honestly, even though it needs some work, well, what doesn't need work around here, really? We decided it was worth the money. It was worth going ahead and getting, especially because we don't have to worry about that Cummins motor. It's usually pretty solid, even if it's not taken care of very well. So, truth be told, if we didn't end up with a grain truck, we were going to end up with a grain trailer to go behind the, well, you can't see the U90 there, but you know where it is. It was one of the two, either a truck or a trailer. And quite frankly, depending on where you looked and what you looked at, they were about the same price. It varied. This was a pretty good deal that came up at the time, so we snatched it up. Dad and I talked about it. We decided we could use this for more than hauling grain, and that's why we went ahead and got it. But honestly, we could have waited on a grain hauling apparatus until summer, because that's when we would cut rye. However, we planted milo this past July, short season milo, and initially we didn't think it was going to do very good, but after a couple rains, it's all come up, and it looks really good so far. So we're going to need to fix this sooner rather than later, because it looks like we're going to be cutting milo. And it's not a lot. It's only about 20 acres, and we're not looking to make a killing off of it or anything. It's just a little bit of extra money that we could bring in. The biggest reason we planted it was to see how it did, just to show somebody else that comes down around here what he could do to kind of improve his own operation, because he's stuck on planting corn, and Dad's trying to get him away from planting corn, so we wanted to show him how milo would do down here. And if it does well here, it'll do well where this guy is at. And hopefully that all makes sense to you. But because it looks like we were going to cut the milo, we especially needed some way to get that to the co-op, because we're not keeping that seed back. We don't want to do that. But yeah, so it was pretty fortunate that we came across this, or Dad did. I'm not on Facebook. He's only on Facebook for the marketplace. But yeah, this was a pretty good deal. And then we got this to do again sooner rather than later. We got a little bit of time. We won't have to cut milo until about October, but this thing does need quite a bit of work. It needs service. Everything around here needs service. That truck, both tractors, and all sorts of cool stuff like that. There's no shortage of projects around here. Staying on subject, came back up here to the shop to make sure that we stay on subject. The main point of the video, second main point of the video, if that makes any sense, uploads. Hey, when am I going to get back to making videos? Because all 12 of you that regularly watch my channel are just on the edge of your seat anticipating the next cinematic masterpiece from the Red Iron Farm. And what I can tell you is that until we get all that field work done, I wouldn't worry about any videos coming onto this channel. I mean, you'll see this one, and I'll go do the walk around. Damn it, there's the word. I'll go do a walk around of the grain truck, but that's probably about all you're going to see. I mean, there's other stuff I'm going to film, but I'm probably not going to edit it until later. I'll film as the opportunity presents as usual, but editing, yeah, I don't have the focus for that. Now, it's supposed to rain all this coming week. If it does, I might be able to get some editing done and some more videos uploaded, because I've got a whole bunch of camera footage on my computer that I might be able to make some videos out of. Who knows? I mean, you think about the guy that filmed all that stuff, and also the guy who's got to put it together. I wouldn't place my bets. But anyway, there's also no shortage of projects I can do if it is kind of wet or rainy or whatever. And these are things that need to be done that have been put off for a while. I got a stack of paperwork above my desk. It's about that thick, and it needs to be dealt with. So all that being considered, yeah, don't plan on seeing me again until, what do I want to say here? A month. Let's just say a month, okay, at least. And if I get back here earlier than then, all right, I'll be a liar, but you'll have videos to watch, and that's all that matters. So yeah, with all that being said, I think I've covered everything that's important. Again, there's all sorts of little things that happen in between. I mean, now that it's rained, when it warms back up, I'm going to have to mow again, and we're going to have more breakdowns and stuff like that. But I will be back with more stuff as soon as I can. I'm sure a lot of you understand the situation here. I didn't come on here to complain or act like I'm the only one. It's just, lamenting the harder we try to do this thing on a schedule, the more everything wants to fight us and not be cooperative. But, we're sitting pretty good, all things considered. We're just going to keep plugging away at it. It took kind of an easy day today, and we'll hit it again hard tomorrow and get stuff done. So, I'm going to get off of here. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Until next time, we will see you later.